What if I told you that one of the Bible's most joyful books was written from a prison cell? Not from a beach, not after a victory, but while chains clinked, guards watched, and the future looked uncertain. Philippians forces an very uncomfortable question. Is joy something life gives you, or something nothing can take from you? If you ever wondered whether biblical joy is realistic, naive, or even honest about suffering, well, keep watching. What is the world behind Philippians? The letter to the Philippians was written by the Apostle Paul while he was imprisoned, most likely in Rome, but Ephesus is another possibility, around 60 to 62 AD. Philippi was a Roman colony, proud of its citizenship status and loyalty to Caesar, and many residents were retired Roman soldiers. So power, honor, and social rank mattered deeply here. Paul writes to a church he loves dearly. This isn't a crisis letter like Galatians or Corinthians. No, it's warm, relational, deeply pastoral, but don't mistake the tone of the letter for simplicity, okay? Philippians is quietly radical. Here are 3 insights you need to know about this letter. Insight number 1, joy in Philippians is not an emotion. It's a defiant choice. Paul uses joy and rejoicing over a dozen times in just 4 chapters. But notice what's missing here. Paul never says his circumstances improved. No, he never says prison was unfair or God would fix it soon. Because in Philippians, joy is not denial, it's resistance. It's the refusal to let suffering define reality. Paul reframes his imprisonment not as a setback, but as a stage. The gospel is advancing. Guards are hearing about Christ. Even opposition can't stop God's work. So Philippians quietly dismantles the idea that joy depends on control. You see, joy here is a settled confidence that God is still writing the story even when you are not holding the pen. And that leads us to the second insight. The Christ hymn rewrites what power looks like. In Philippians 2, Paul includes what many scholars today believe is an early Christian hymn, one of the most profound passages in the New Testament, actually. Jesus, though equal with God, does not cling to status. He empties himself. He takes the role of a servant. He dies, not just any death, but a cross. And only then God exalts him. And this would have sounded at least shocking in a Roman colony obsessed with honor and hierarchy, right? In Philippians, Paul affirms downward mobility is the path to true greatness. This is actually the very term Paul employs here to describe Jesus' incarnation, kenosis. That is, Jesus emptied himself of all his glory to become one of us and descend into our world. Paul is not just teaching theology here, he is reshaping the theological narrative. If Jesus wins by self-giving love, then, of course, his community can't be built on ego, rivalry, or image management. No. This is why humility isn't optional in Philippians. It's not a personality trait, it's allegiance to the crucified Messiah. And that is why we have the third insight. Paul announces joy to a fragile community. That's right, Philippians is not written to a perfect church. No, Paul urges unity. For instance, he pleads with 2 women, Euodia and Syntyche, to reconcile. Also, he warns against teachers who reduce faith to performance or credential. And right in the middle of all that tension, Paul says, rejoice in the Lord always. You see, this is not a command to ignore conflict. No, it's an invitation to place joy in the Lord, not in harmony or success or spiritual achievement. Paul's famous line, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, therefore is not about limitless potential. It's about contentment. It's about having enough, whether in abundance or lack. Philippians teaches a quiet, countercultural freedom. You don't need ideal conditions to live faithfully. And why Philippians still matters today? Well, Philippians speak directly to an anxious, comparison-driven, success-obsessed world like ours. It offers joy without pretending pain is not real, hope without hype, confidence rooted not in self-belief but in Christ's faithfulness. It reminds us that the gospel doesn't just save people, it also creates a new way of being human together. And here's the closing line. Philippians invites us to discover a joy that survives disappointment, a humility that reshapes power, a hope anchored in God deeper than any circumstance. Because when Christ is your life, even chains can't silence the song, and suffering can't steal your joy.